Well, you know the music's playing, so you know what this is. This is going to be some machines I've already looked at. In this case, there was 3 beta machines I looked at back in about February, and they're all working when they left here. But all 3 of them are back, and the client says that he never used them until now, and they don't work. So we're going to have to see whether there's really a problem. I really hate it when this happens. So I had this deck back in February. It was a timer light on, everything else was dead. And I fixed that problem. I think it was a power supply problem on that one. And he says, September, picture not clear, deck not used since fixed. Of course it works. Now, this is a non-super beta deck, so if a super beta tape is put in this machine, obviously it's not going to play properly, but I will put a tape in here and we'll take a look at it and see how it looks. Keep in mind there's going to be obviously dropouts because the tape is like 40 years old.
A special welcome to our killer whale show. The BC Hana Indians along our coastline.
Keep in mind this is a super beta tape that we're playing, so it's not going to play as well as it should. But again, we can't do much about that. It's super beta. So if I found a regular beta tape, we wouldn't get. There's a little bit of overmodulation distortion. Again, this tape is well worn. This was recorded on GCS1 in 1980. I guess it was 86 or 87 that this was recorded. So this machine uses it for PCM playback. So you had the PCM switch turned on, which turns off the dropout compensator. I've just turned the dropout compensator on. Of course, when you're using for PCM, you have to turn that off, otherwise the dropout compensator will cause errors. So we'll turn the dropout compensator off, and of course the sharpness control should be turned down. But one thing you don't want to do when you're doing PCM work is have the sharpness cranked up as high as it can go. But other than the dropouts on the tape, again, the tape itself is in pretty rough shape. I've got some other tapes here. Unfortunately, all my tapes are in super beta. I don't have any non-super beta tapes kicking around. Oops, that's a beta 1 tape. That's obviously not going to play. If I try to play that one, it's in super beta 1. It's just going to be a mess. It's going to be so badly overmodulated that it's not even going to play it. As you can see, it's really badly overmodulated just because it's a beta 1 tape. This machine has beta 1 playback, but it does not have SHB, and that's what that was recorded in, was super high band. So obviously it's not going to play that one. Here's some stuff I recorded back a few months ago. Again, a very old tape. We're talking tapes that are 40 years old, so obviously there's going to be dropouts. This was recorded on my SL2700, so obviously this is not super beta. And it's recorded in, what speed is it, beta 2. But as you can see, the picture off this one plays fine. I'm just recording this down for a record of it. I can crank the sharpness up, but that is really not something that you want to do, especially if you're using it for PCM. And it has to be put in PCM mode, which turns off the dropout compensator. So now you'll see dropouts. Normally they're masked, but for when you're using it for PCM with a PCM adapter, you have to have the dropout compensator turned off. Otherwise, the dropout compensator will create errors itself, which will cause the sound to drop out. But it looks like it's playing this tape fine. I don't see any issue with this one. I got 3 machines from the same guy, and 2 of them were serviced. And he says the picture's not clear, but that looks to be performing as expected for a machine this age. I would say it's doing excellent. And for the tape that's this age, there's my SL2700 that I made that recording on. I had my HVC 2800 plugged in directly, as that 2700 had a camera connector on the front. So this machine, I would say there's nothing wrong with this one. Let's move on to the next one. Next up I have the second Boomerang, which also claims that the picture is not clear. This one is a Super Beta machine. I'll just rewind it back and we'll take a look at the footage. No, this is the aquarium video. So this is Super Beta. So let's just switch it over and we'll take a look at the picture off this one. Again, we're going to see dropouts. I think he's got it in in PCM mode here. Where's the switch? There's a switch on this thing somewhere. That's just me adjusting the tracking control. This one's got 3-head machine, so it's got good freeze frame, and we can adjust the still adjustment to make it perfect. And slow motion, I think it's got slow-mo on here too. Frame advance. I mean, it's tracking up absolutely perfect. So I don't know where the complaint on this one is, that the picture is not clear, because that picture looks fine. I'll try the other tape. Turn the Super Beta off. And there's the regular Beta tape. So again, looks like Beta to me. I mean, it looks good. This was recorded on a camera that's from like 1980. I think this was 82, this camera, and the deck itself would have been probably about a 1984. It was an SL2700 that made this recording on a tape that's just as old as the recorder. I mean, this is the tape that is recorded on. I mean, that's old, very old, but it's playing fine. Got a couple movies on here. That's kind of a cool one, Bird's Eye. I've got that on my channel. This was a Sony promotional video of that. So I just recorded some stuff on the very end of the tape. There was a little bit of tape left, but I mean, this is an old tape, and for a tape that's as old as this tape is, it's performing very well. I don't know if there's any date on here. Made in USA. But I love the warranty on here. Neither the seller nor the manufacturer shall be liable or incur any loss or damage direct or consequent arising out of the use or the inability to use the product. In other words, if the heads clog up while you're shooting a wedding, that's just too bad, so sad. All we'll do is we'll replace the defective tape, but we won't pay for the wedding again. Trust me, I know that one all too well, and that's why I always carried... I shot with 2 cameras, and I usually carried a third with me as a spare, just in case something went sideways. I always had a backup just for that exact situation. Anyway, this is 2 of 3. Let's get the third one up. Maybe there's something wrong with it. So this is another boomerang. This one here says in February, inputs tape does not load tape and then ejects. And then it says, unit has not been used since fixed. Carriage does not go down.
Let's look back at the previous video of this machine.
It's a plungerless, no solenoid on this one. So power light's on. but is it going to do anything? Okay. Well, it loaded. Is this going to work? Oh, it's got a terrible picture. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really good. This one might be suffering from stiction. I think that's stiction problem on this one. Let's take a look at that drum and see how shiny it is. It looks pretty dirty too. But how shiny is that upper drum on this one? You can see how shiny this is. This is where the tape is sticking to the upper drum. This is supposed to look like this. You can see where the tape is really severely polished. Got a Comet cleanser. We're going to make a little bit of a paste and we're going to clean this mess up. So this is the stuff we use. Good old Comet cleanser. Put some of that on here on a wet cloth. Make a paste out of it. And then we're going to use this to remove the shine on the drum. Remember how the drum looked before, right? Good as new.
This is why I always record my work. I always cover my ass so I have a record of how the machine left in operational. You can see that everything's working proper.
There we have it. With the exception of the little glitch that's going to happen every 10 seconds due to the tape that was erased. Hey, it's playing now.
Here's the machine unloading just before the top went on and it went out. You can see everything's working perfect. The cassette basket's loading and unloading. Let's take a look at it today.
Try loading a tape. Oh, the cassette basket's down. Why is the cassette basket down already? Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, that's interesting. The cassette basket's down and it doesn't want to let me raise it.
It's down because there's a piece of plastic on the left side that's been snapped off that was fine when it left here in February.
Is something broken? Oh, you know what? I think the plastic pin's broken off on this thing, on this side. I think a plastic pin is broken. Let's see if I'm right. I think there's going to be a plastic pin on this side that's broken on this loading mechanism. Probably find the piece of plastic inside here. Brittle plastic, right? You get 40-year-old machines and plastic gets brittle after a while and it breaks. He says it hasn't worked since he used it. Maybe a tape got stuck or a tape was pushed in a little too hard.
You guys just saw the video before this part that unit was loading and unloading perfectly and there was nothing hanging up.
Yep. Yep, it's a piece of plastic. It's busted. I can see it right now. So the it's broken right here. Let's see if we can get a close up of it, but I'll show you where it's broken. So a plastic pin is broken off on the front loading mechanism on the actual cassette carriage itself, the housing. It's probably inside the base here. If I turn it over, it'll probably fall out. The part that's broken on this is the plastic pin that sticks out here that engages with this gear. I'm nervous even taking the gear off because the black plastic will probably snap. But there's this plastic. There's a pin that should have stuck out there, which goes in here, in behind. Goes in behind there like that. It sits and rides in the track. And that pin is gone. It's snapped off. I don't know how we can fix that one. There's nothing really to secure anything to. As part of the left side plastic rail, and of course there's no parts available for any of these things now. I don't have one of these to steal it out of either. I don't have one with this type of loading mechanism. I have the other chassis. I have another basket for the other chassis, but it's completely different. I have a 711 B2. This is a B3 chassis, pretty sure. Yeah, this is the B3, and I don't have one. I don't have one from a scrap machine. I have a B3 chassis, but I don't have a basket that I can steal from it. That's what it's supposed to look like if we look at the one on the other side. It's supposed to stick through like that. That one's broken. Broken off flush. Looks like there's a metal pin in there too. It snapped off flush with the metal pin. You can see it. Anyway, that's where the fault is on this one. I don't know that I can do anything on this without finding a replacement part. I don't know if anybody's 3D printing these or not. I haven't checked. I've never needed one, so if someone's 3D printing with these, let me know. That metal was probably to reinforce the unit because it broke all the time, but the metal doesn't go that far. It still broke. So I'm just going to reattach this here and let the fellow know that owns it that unfortunately, unless we can find a part for it, there's not a heck of a lot that can be done to fix this one unless that part can be found. And again, maybe someone's 3D printing these. I know there's a guy out there that's making parts for Beta machines. I don't know if he's making this part or not. So unfortunately, not a lot I can do on this one, so I'm just going to put this one back together and say thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Unfortunately, today was another day that was a wash. Three machines, well, I shouldn't say total wash. I had the remote control. Made myself a couple dollars. Made myself enough to buy lunch fixing the remote control. But 3 Beta machines, 1 with a broken plastic part and 2 no fault founds. It'll be interesting to know how that part broke, because if you go back and look at the video when it was in February, and apparently it hasn't been used, according to the owner, it hasn't been used since it was repaired. If you go back and look at the video, it was loading and unloading tapes just fine. So something happened to it after it left here. Thanks for watching.